Here we go with another episode of Wholesaling the Cool Way with Mark
Alright.
Cool, myself, and Jasper Cool, my son. We co-host this podcast, which came out of a mastermind that we've been doing for a few years, where we meet on Sundays and discuss our businesses and challenges and victories and tools and tips and tricks that we're learning. And we opened it up to the general public in hopes of helping people grow their businesses, especially if you're just starting out and you're trying to figure out the lay of the land and how to make money in wholesaling. We've both been doing this for 3 or 4 years now, and done a lot of deals between us, right? A couple hundred deals or so. I don't know. I think we're coming up on 100 in our business, Jasper, and you've probably done 100 or more, right? At this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we're here to talk about wholesaling and real estate investing, and we usually kick this off with some. What are we going to do? Business check-in, highs and lows. Oh no, let's do inspiration and education. That's what we normally start with. So
Let's do it.
yeah, any books, podcasts, other inspiration, or things you've learned this week that you want to share? Floor is yours.
Yeah. What's that?
I said the floor is yours, Jasper.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah. A couple things this week kind of slipped my mind now that I'm on the spot, of course. But one of the things that I found out about this week is a new company called Roots. And I recently resubscribed to this company that's called Morning Brew. And basically they just give you like business news a couple of times a week in your email. And I used to subscribe and then I stopped. But I mentioned to you, I think a couple of shows ago, that I wanted to be more in tune with stuff like that. So that's where I went because it's free and I like it. So I found out through them from this new company called Roots. And that was an inspiration to me because I just thought it was a great idea. And basically it's like a REIT, like a real estate investment trust. So similar to like any of these other syndications like Grant Cardone or any of the bigger guys that are doing stuff like that. But what's different about it is that the renters, the tenants of the properties that this company buys, they also get equity for basically as a performance bonus, essentially. So if you're paying your rent on time, you're taking care of your place, you also get a quarterly distribution along with the investors. And I thought that was great. Yeah, I thought it was a great idea. I was just like, man, why didn't I think of something like that? But either way, I was inspired because this company, I think they've already got something like $50 million invested or something. And obviously they're raising money from investors on the front end. But then once they purchase these properties and they place tenants, the tenants get to participate in the investment as long as they're living there.
How do they verify that the tenants are taking care of the property?
I'm assuming since it's quarterly, I'm assuming they just like do a quarterly inspection or something because I guess that's not too intrusive. And I'm assuming like if the tenant doesn't want to be part of it, then they could be like, no, I don't care, and then maybe you don't bother them. But I'm guessing most tenants would like want to be a part of that because they get like basically a credit, and then they can invest that in the fund if they wanted to, and they can get returns of the same place that they're living in. They can participate on both sides. But yeah, I thought that was a really cool idea. So yeah. And then I guess another thing that's inspiring me, same thing from their newsletter, is just like how much money is being spent and being made on the Super Bowl. Like I always knew that it's a huge spectacle, but I didn't know like the numbers behind it. It's something like $7 million for a 30-second advertisement.
Yeah, it's insane.
Think about how many 30 seconds go into one Super Bowl. Like I just, and that's just advertisements.
Yeah.
So then it just gets me thinking like, okay, that's just advertisements. So then how much are they making on the ticket sales? And how much are they making on the halftime show? And how much are they making like after
merch.
this?
They're promoting merch too.
The merchandise and then all the vendors surrounding, how much these hotels charge, because they're skyrocketing their prices on the weekend of the Super Bowl, like all this stuff. So I don't know, that just got me inspired. Like someone would spend $7 million on 30 seconds. But me and you as marketers, if we're going to spend that money, then we're obviously getting a return. So that's impressive because I'm assuming these people are making at least like 3 to 1. So they're at least making 21 million on a $7 million investment.
Yeah.
And that's just for a 30-second spot. So people are probably spending 10, 20, 30 million to do like a minute-long commercial on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And obviously most of these are huge companies.
Well, and some of the 30-second spots are running multiple times. They're paying for each time, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Yeah. So I just thought that was amazing. And like whoever came up with the Super Bowl, who would have known how big it would get? Whoever's behind the Super Bowl on the NFL side, like kudos to them too.
It's the biggest event in the worldwide, right? The most watched event worldwide.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I
it
think
is.
it's even bigger than the soccer, the World Cup. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's impressive for sure. So that was inspiring to me as well. And then I also was reading this book, but I'm forgetting the title now. I had it on my Kindle. So maybe I'll just find it later so I don't slow things down. But I got this new book, and is I think it's called The Simple Path to Wealth. I think it's something like that. Simple Path to Wealth. And I enjoyed that, and it made me think of you because I think you shared this dude with me called Mr. Money Mustache. I think
Yeah.
you told me about this dude a
Yeah,
while
he's
ago.
great.
Yeah, and so he wrote the forward to this book, which caught my eye because I was like, oh, I've heard of that guy before, but he's not the author. He just wrote the forward. But I've been enjoying that book so far. It's basically exactly what it says. I think that's the title, Simple Path to Wealth, something like that. And he just outlines like exactly what to do to basically like put your wealth on autopilot. And it's like what everyone's heard before, but it's just like really, really dumbed down. And I like that. He literally tells you the exact like ticker that you should buy in terms of ETFs and stuff, and exactly like when you should do it and all this stuff. And, just goes into the history about like not trying to time the market and all that stuff. But he gives a few like different ways to invest as well. So I've been liking that so far. I'm about halfway through.
Yeah, that's
But
similar to what Mr. Money Mustache does. My take on him is it's very similar to the 600-page Tony Robbins book, only he makes it very, very simple. Like
yeah,
this is when you buy bonds, this is when you buy stocks, this is how you invest incrementally, and this is how you get the return. And it's not rocket science. It's just paint by numbers. You just do it over and over, and you get to where you want to get.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So there's that. Oh, I forgot the most important thing that I wanted to share with you. So this week, one of my heroes that I used to look up to and still do, Kobe, got his statue unveiled, and I thought that was amazing.
Nice.
So yeah, I watched the presentation. I watched like what Shaq had to say and a bunch of other popular people had to say about it, and it was really cool. It was the statue of him when his 81-point game. He was holding his finger up, and Pau Gasol is there and his family's there and everything, and it was just cool. That was very cool. And now it's there out front of well, it's not Staples Center anymore, but out front of the arena. And yeah, it's there forever. They said he's getting 2 more statues as well, but this is the first one. So very cool.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that's it for me.
I'll have to go watch that on YouTube.
Yeah.
Sweet. Thanks for checking in. It's really good stuff. It's exciting about the newsletter, and yeah, I've been doing similar stuff. But I put 10% of my salary every month into stocks, so I was playing around with stuff, trying to find interesting things. There's this one company called NU, and I've been investing in it. It's really cheap right now. It's like $10 or $15 a share, but I went into it because it's online banking and it's based in Brazil, and I guess they're crushing it in South America. The reason I bought it is because Warren Buffett went in on it like a year or two ago, and I just saw it in the news. So I was like, oh, that's cheap, and online banking is on the rise. And if Warren Buffett's doing it, I'm doing it. So I've been gradually buying it,
Yeah.
and it's like steadily on the and I really like finding stuff that that's cheap, right? That you can buy a lot of shares of, because if it really grows, then you got a big upside, rather than buying like Microsoft, which is whatever, a couple $100 a share, or Tesla, that kind of stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
I just thought I'd throw that out there since you're talking about that investing. But yeah, let me pull up my notes here and all the stuff I wrote on the airplane this morning. I was telling Jasper offline before we jumped on the recording part, is that I flew in from Puerto Rico this morning to North Carolina and got on the plane at I guess 4:30 or 5 a.m. Puerto Rico time, which is 3:30 or 4 a.m. Eastern time, which is where I am now. And my brain was crackling. I actually had a little espresso in the airport, and I don't drink coffee, so that probably helped me a little bit. But so I did a bunch of writing. Anyway, let's see. As far as my inspiration and education, I finished The Laws of Lifetime Growth while I was on the plane, which is a book I've been reading while I was in Puerto Rico for the last few weeks. It's by Catherine Nakamura and Dan Sullivan. Catherine Nomura, sorry, and Dan Sullivan. And it's 10 Laws of Lifetime Growth, and a brief chapter on each one. It's a great book because it's concise and brief. It's 150 pages-ish. And, each one is really simple, expresses a simple idea, but it's really profound and just sort of user-friendly. Always make your future bigger than your past. Always make your learning greater than your experience. The one I finished up with this morning was always make your questions bigger than your answers, which was a really good one. So anyway, it was great. Just got my brain crackling, and I started working on my core values for my business because I was inspired by something in the book, and then ended up writing for a long time, trying to dial down how I want to do the business and ways we can grow as a team stuff. So that was inspiring. And then I've been listening to Naval Ravikant's the Naval Almanac. It's not read by Naval; it's compiled by somebody else and read by somebody else. But it's all of Naval's tweets from Twitter and just his ideas and just super inspiring stuff. The most recent section I was listening to it was on happiness. He does business and success and happiness. He's got a bunch of different sections in there, but this is one thing I'll share from this that I liked is that he was saying that for him peace is more important than happiness, and that when you find ways to find peace, that is really happiness. And there's something he said. I paraphrased it here. Peace is joy at rest, and joy is peace in motion, right? And so people run around trying to find happiness and joy all the time and feel like you have to be like up and joyful and happy to be happy, but really it's a feeling of peace and groundedness. It makes sense to me because I agree with it. And then if it bubbles up and it's in motion, then you're more joyful and happy. But you can also be very happy and be very peaceful and calm. So I like that idea, that thought that don't go chasing happiness, just find ways to be content with who you are in your life. And and then the last one I'll check in about is I listened to this podcast by David Sinclair. He wrote a book on longevity, which I have, but I haven't finished because it's not as interesting to me as the podcast. It's very dry and academic to me. But the podcast is great because he's got a co-host, and so the guy kind of keeps him on track and away from being a total science nerd about longevity and life extension. But there was a brief video on YouTube I watched, and he was talking about like foods he eliminated and different ways to enhance longevity and supplements he takes and stuff. One takeaway that I generally do, but he's talking about getting yourself to, this is with exercise, getting yourself to a place of being hypoxic 3 times a week for about 10 minutes. And hypoxic means, low on oxygen because you pushed your cardio so far. And that does stuff to your body that perpetuates recovery and longevity, just sets things in motion in your body. So that's just a fun reminder, good takeaway. And then he talks about all the things he's eliminated, which are basically all the evils that people talk about: alcohol, sugar, bread, simple carbs, and what else? He eliminated dairy and meat too. He's on a plant-based thing now, which a lot of people are into.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, guy is 54. He looks like he's 32. So something's. And I think he's on Botox. I don't believe it. I was like, oh, well, maybe he is, but I think he's just really a nerd about longevity and life extension and biohacking. But anyway, his name's David Sinclair. If you're interested, he's got a great podcast, just going through different chapters of his book and breaking it down for the layman in terms of different things you can do and how to understand longevity and life extension and being healthy well into your later years. And so that's what I got for now. So let's go into business check-in, and this can go any way you want it to go, but normally it's victories, challenges, KPIs, tools and tips and tricks. Anything else you got around the business side of things, wholesaling and investing? You up for jumping in on that, Jasper?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess I'll start with KPIs. So for this week, we got, let's see, we got 2 contracts. We sold 2 deals, and then wait for this to load to see my leads. But I think we made like 90 something offers and a couple hundred leads.
Nice.
But I guess my Podio doesn't want to load this.
So your offer rate's like 50%, 40%?
Yeah, I mean, we try to make the offer rate like 90%, but half the leads that come in every week are not ready to talk right now. So
yeah,
I would say like if we get 200 leads, then 100 of those are probably call me back in a month or 3 months or 6 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, we try to offer on all the leads, but that doesn't happen. So
yeah, and you don't want to waste your time and energy either if it's not a lead that's worthy of an offer.
Yeah, because Matt was saying that he tries to offer on like 90%. So I definitely want to increase my offers, but they have been increasing, so that's a good thing. So for this week, now I finally got my numbers, but 95 offers and 232 leads. So good week on both of those things. That was actually our highest offers this year, and then I had the last 8 weeks here, so that was the highest in the last 8 weeks. We had a few in the 80s, but it's the first time over 90 in 8 weeks. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then a quick story on one of these. Since I didn't have any closings this week, I thought I could tell a quick story on one of these contracts we got because it was exciting for. We had this lead that came in. I'm looking at it now. It's came in March of 2021, so almost 3 years ago. This lead came in, and this was a cold call lead initially. We followed up with them for 3 years, for a long time. Over, let's see, Podio has only tracked like 25 follow-up attempts, but I'm sure it's been much more than that with drips and everything like that.
Yeah.
But either way, we followed up with him for 3 years, and he didn't want to sell. Didn't want to sell. Called him this week. Finally got a hold of him again, and he still didn't want to sell. But since we've been following up for 3 years, he decided to refer us to one of his buddies who does want to sell, and we
Wow.
got a contract with him.
That's
And
awesome.
so yeah, that's just a testament to my team for following up for 3 years, even despite him every single time. No, I don't want to sell. No, I don't want to sell. Sometimes being rude, just looking back at the notes and stuff. But since we bothered him so much, he decided to refer us to his friend. And not only did we sign a contract with him yesterday, Saturday, to purchase his property, but he has another house that he wants to sell us too. So potential 2 deals from this one guy from a referral, but that wouldn't have came if we didn't follow up with him for 3 years. So
That's amazing.
just a testament for anyone getting started. Because I know when I was getting started and I was a one man show, the one thing that I did not do was follow up. I never followed up.
It's hard
I
to
would
do
get
when
on the
you're
dialer
a
every
one
day.
man show too, though.
Yeah. It's not exciting necessarily, at least for me. Maybe some people love it, but for me, I would get on the dialer every day, and I was excited about that. I was like, man, let's find some new leads. Let's see who's going to sell their property to me. But once I would get someone who's like a maybe, I would just cast it by the wayside, and I would follow up, but not as consistently as I should, and I would lose a lot of deals, I'm sure. So shout out to my team and anyone who's listening. Just make sure you always follow up, even if they tell you they're not interested. Still stay persistent with them. So yeah, that's that for the KPIs this week. In terms of victories, that was a victory that I just shared. Another thing is that I turned on, or I edited, I guess, my PPC campaign because they were just doing it in working hours essentially. So they were pushing me all the leads that came in working hours. I asked them to stop that, and now we're getting leads, more leads, I should say. And we got 2 this weekend, and we've gotten some like after hours, either in the morning or like after 6 p.m. in the evening. So that's been awesome, getting more leads, and we got another couple there that I think we can get now. So I think that was a good thing to
So
try.
they were running the PPC only 9 to 5.
Well, they're actually running it. I'm sorry, they're actually running it from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. But I did it 24 hours, and they weren't running it on the weekends. So I did it 24 hours and on weekends, so 24/7 now.
Yeah, and
Um,
plus, like that, if they're doing it based on their time zone, you might hit other people in different time zones at different times of the day, right? If they're doing 8 to 8 only in one time zone, or are they doing it in all time zones?
yeah, I think it was just Eastern time. So
Yeah,
yeah, you're absolutely right.
yeah. So that might have helped
So
too.
yeah, I've noticed more leads coming from that, and I also on victories. I hopped on this webinar this week. This guy's name is Tony Javier, and I actually heard about him when I was doing JVs with my buddy named Sergio a couple years back because he was using him to run his TV ads. And so this guy Tony, he wholesales himself, but his main, where he makes the bulk of his money, is selling services, basically TV and radio. So he focuses on those 2 channels exclusively for his clients, and so I hopped on his webinar anyways, and he was like the host, but he had like these 4 other guys who all do anywhere from 100 to 300 deals a year. So these guys are all crushing it. But it was cool. It was just a Zoom call. You were able to ask questions and stuff. So I asked these guys a question like, what do you think I should do about PPC? I'm 2 months in. I've had like pretty much no traction so far. All the leads suck, all that stuff. And this one guy who does a lot of PPC gave me some great feedback. And it was just that if let's say like I was spending right now, I think I'm spending $3,500 a month at give or take on PPC. And he was like, I told him I spend and everything. And he was like, well, let's say you spend $3,500 a month for a year. that's around like 45,000. And let's say that lands you one deal a quarter. Just that alone will like double or triple your ad spend. So he was like, you got to look at it on just a longer time horizon. Basically, is what I garnered from that. But also to look at it as like I wanted it to be a consistent thing where I'm getting 2, 3, 4 deals a month from PPC. But even like he said, if I get a deal a quarter, it'll still come out with a positive ROI. So if I give it time, and then if I up that and I get a deal a month, then I'm crushing it in terms of ROI. So it just gave me the confidence to have someone who's more successful, who's doing hundreds of deals, to tell me like, okay, this is what we look at in my business. And he even shared like he's like PPC is not our best channel, but it is like he said where we're getting at least a 3 to 4x return every year, and the leads are quality, and it's not jamming up our CRM because it's much fewer leads. It's just like 20, 30 leads a month, but they're just higher quality leads. So anyways, that gave me the confidence to keep it going a little while longer. So I'm gonna at least give it 6 months after listening to him, and hopefully we'll close a couple deals by then. So we'll see. But we're getting closer for sure. Once I made that change, we're getting more leads, and seems like slightly better leads. So we'll see.
That's great advice. That's good to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, and then another small victory has been. I think this year has just been a bit more experimentation for me in terms of my marketing. So I also signed up for this Realtor campaign through this guy named Nicholas Nick. He has a company named Lead Mining Pros. And so I signed up with a Realtor campaign with him, and they handle everything. They pull the list of realtors, and they do a text campaign, and they just send you the leads at the end of the day. And so far, I think I've only gotten like 6 or 7 leads, but all of those leads, I reached out to them via email myself because they've already texted them, and half of them have already responded with deals, and they've already said that they'll send me more deals in the future. So basically, they're sending a text campaign to realtors for me, and they're saying, hey, I'm active in the area, just wondering if you have any listings coming up that are not on the market. And if they say yes, then they push them over as a lead, and I reach out to them. So basically what I'm trying to do is create some more like referrals coming from agents, because those are essentially like quote unquote free deals for me. So I'm excited about that.
How
And
does
the
that work? So
campaign,
they're trying to just sell it to you before it hits the market?
yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. So, hopefully I'm trying to like just to build a relationship with these people. So if they get a property that's kind of crappy and needs a lot of work, then they'll just reach out to me, and, they'll probably still list it if they don't like my offer, but at least I get an opportunity to give them an offer before it hits the market. So that's my goal.
So you're trying to mine real estate agents for not move-in ready properties, like rough,
Yeah, exactly.
because that's not what
Yeah.
they want to be focusing on. They want to be focusing on move-in ready.
Yeah. And usually those properties are lower dollar anyways, and realtors don't usually like to do cheaper houses because they don't get paid as much.
Right, and you can even offer them 4% instead of their normal 3% or something to sweeten the pot for them,
Yeah.
because it's still not
Yeah.
much for us, right? Like if you do a house for whatever $100,000, it's only $4,000 if you're making a decent profit.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of too early to tell, but first weekend it seems to be doing pretty well. So we'll see how many more leads I get from that, and then I can always try another campaign with these guys too. It's pretty affordable, so just trying that out. Um, yeah, there's that, and then let's see what else. Um, oh, I got my books back this week, and that was really exciting for me to comb through those, because they sent me all these different reports. It's like 75 pages, and it just outlines literally everything. It's really fun for me because I like looking at numbers and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm tempted
that
to
was
hire
cool.
those people.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been great to me. And then she offered me to, go on a Zoom call and like walk through everything with me.
Nice.
So I might do that as well.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, yeah, there's that. I might have had another victory, but I think that's it for now. Oh, actually, one more small victory is my buddy Farouk, who came out here last week. He had a deal that he wanted help with, and he basically is gonna pay me just a couple $1,000 to help him like transaction coordinate this deal, which like is super easy for me.
Yeah.
But that's just thanks to him for coming out here, because we kind of built a better relationship, and now we're gonna maybe do some more stuff like that together. So I'm excited about that too.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, and then in terms of challenges, I had a few this week. First one that was a bit of a bummer for me is that this this one seller reached out to me, trying to cancel the contract because someone else reached out to him, offered him more, blah, blah, blah. But it was a bummer for me because that was my first deal, like not showing the address, and they still got it. So now I need to find another better way around that because that one I had the street name, so maybe I shouldn't use street names. But I didn't share like the full address, and they still,
So somebody
had people.
took your information from your flyer that you sent out and went behind your back.
Yeah, I mean, that happens almost on every deal, but with this, I was hoping that it wouldn't happen when I changed my process.
Yeah.
So so now I have to find a better way, and maybe I like showed it in the photo or something, or I don't know. So I'll have to be more diligent on that, I guess. But it's always a bummer when people do that because I don't blame the seller at all. I just blame the people on my list, and it's
Yeah,
a
it's
bummer.
just such a lack of integrity on that person's part and just
It's just so
laziness
stupid.
too. It's like you can't do your own deals and do your own marketing. You have to just go around trying to steal other people. It's just like
Yeah.
bottom
I don't-
feeder. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get it. So, if anyone's listening or watching, and you're trying to get started in this business, that's just not the way that I would recommend you do it. And word's gonna get around eventually. You might not get caught your first 5, 10 times, but eventually someone's gonna find out that you're doing that, and then your reputation's all you got in this business. So,
Yeah.
I would just recommend anyone who's looking to JV, just be honest and reach out to those people. Say, hey, I'm a wholesaler. I do have buyers, and I would love to JV this deal with you, and just get a yes or no from them. And if they say no, then don't do it. But a lot of people will say yes, and they'll be open to it. So
Yeah.
and
Just for feedback on that, we get deals where we just have a lot of trouble finding a buyer, and when it's slow like that, and we've had it for 3 weeks, we are happy to JV.
yeah,
With somebody
absolutely,
who can come in and put some work in, beat the bushes, find a buyer, or you have a buyer, happy to JV rather than just lose the deal. So
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, and also, just for anyone listening, I don't mean to scare anyone, but technically, if I was like a huge company, it is illegal to do that, and you could get sued for that. If it wasn't me as like a smaller wholesaler and it was a bigger company, they can sue you for doing that. So I would just be careful if you have been doing that or you know anyone who's doing that, because I learned that is a something you can be sued for. But anyways, there was that, and then there's a couple other challenges this week. Had a Oh, I had another deal that I'm trying to sell, and then now the seller's ghosted me. So I'm assuming the same thing happened to him. So it's kind of like growing pains with me trying to build my buyers list. Like obviously we're growing our buyers list every day, which is a good thing. But I guess a few more people, either newer people are not legit, or maybe it's just older people that I didn't know about that they're doing this continually. So I did go through my list myself manually, and I basically looked at all the people that open my emails every time, but I've never heard from them. And I kind of took that as a red flag because I'm like, if you open 500 of my emails and I have 0 replies from you, you're probably just trying to steal my deals. That's what I that's what I thought in my head. So basically, I removed those people, and I'm using it as a test because they obviously have my email. So if they reach out in a couple of weeks, like, hey, I stopped getting your emails, then I can have that conversation. But basically, that was my thought process. I don't know if that's accurate, but I'm
no,
thinking,
that sounds like a smart move to me. Yeah.
yeah, because I'm like, if you received like these people, literally, there was a good amount of people who received 500 emails, and I have nothing from them. Like I've never heard from these people before, and so I'm like, if you've opened 500 of my emails, you've never submitted an offer, never called me, never did like anything, then maybe you're probably just trying to steal my deals. So we'll see if that makes any difference going forward. But yeah, it's just growing pains, I guess. It's hopefully I'll make more profit on my deals going forward, but I might have to nip out the bad agents in the process. So we'll see. But yeah, there's that, and then another one has seller ghost to me, so that's kind of a bummer. And then another one had title issues, but that's just there's nothing that I can do about those two. So I guess that's about it. Another victory I've noticed, I don't know if you've noticed it, but launch control has been much better for me this week and the week prior. So it seems response rate's going back up, which has been good.
I think we're still at 10 or 11% on initial message. Is that where you've gone up from there?
I've gone up in deliverability. I think response rate's up slightly. I could check right now. But
Yeah.
what I noticed is my deliverability is back where it used to be, which is in the high 90s, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think we
Uh,
were in the high 80s, low 90s recently. I don't know where we are now, but I'll have to check
yeah, so
that.
so far this month I'm at 17 response rate, and I was at 10. And so that's a huge jump for me. So I'm very happy with that. Because I just noticed a lot more leads coming in. I talked to my guy who's doing it. He's like, yeah, it seems like it's going back. So don't want to jinx it, knock on wood.
Wait,
But
say it again.
that's
You're at, what was the last one? You're talking about your initial response rate?
yeah, that's also including follow campaigns, but that's just on the initial message. I'm at 16.6, so 17 now.
Wow,
Uh,
that's big.
so that's much higher. Yeah, that's much higher than we were before. Um, so yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully it'll stay steady there or maybe go up. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's naturally down just because we have to have an opt-out clause in there, which we never did before. So some people are just opting
Yeah,
out. But
yeah.
that's encouraging to hear that it's gone up for you. I'll have to review ours too. Did you edit your templates at all, or are you just going basically with the stuff that Launch Control gave you?
No, I definitely don't use theirs. I just created my own to match their new rules,
Yeah,
essentially.
I haven't gone through and really. I did one round of going through, but I probably need to go through again and edit and revise and stuff. I think that
Yeah,
because
and also
some
if
of them
it,
still don't make sense. They, just the grammar in them doesn't really make sense.
yeah, their templates suck, but also the ones that they preloaded, I don't know if they did this on purpose, but they're extremely long. So if you were to just cut and
Right,
paste
they're
and
like
use
two
those,
two texts. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, there are at least two, and some are even three messages in one. So, like, I learned when I first started Launch Control, I made that mistake, and I was like, "Wait, we're at our daily limit already," and it was because I was sending two messages every time, so that cuts your daily rate in half, just right there. So, for anyone listening, if you're newer to Launch and you're using their templates, make sure they're 160 characters or less. Make sure you edit them so that it's only one message every time.
yeah. I noticed
Um,
that with their stuff that they loaded up for us. That mostly it's like 300 characters. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that's overall a victory for me. So hopefully I'll continue to improve. But that's it for me. We can switch on over.
Okay. Well, thanks. That's great stuff. Yeah, a lot of learning in there in your experience.
Yeah.
I'm just making a note to myself now to edit. It's been on my back burner to edit my launch control templates, but now it's more. Now that you're reminding me of that, definitely need to do that.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Well, thanks for checking in, and I'll jump over and look at my notes here that I made
All right.
on the airplane today. Let's see what I got here. Um, well, I'll start off with victories because we closed our biggest deal to date of our business. We did close the deal this week, and the profit was 52,000, which is our biggest
Yeah.
single deal profit. So yeah, so here's a so that was huge for us. Yeah, thank you. Pretty exciting, and it's just as we've talked about before on this podcast, it expands my mindset and the team's mindset around what we can accomplish from here, right? It's a nice thing to hit a bigger number and then go, well, we did that, we can do it again, maybe we can do more. So and we had a 30K at the end of last year, and we had another one that's around 28 plus interest with owner financing. So we're creeping up there in like deal size and getting bigger deals. So I'll run this one down a little bit because I made some notes on it. Uh, this one came from SMS, I believe. Let me. God, I thought this was SMS. I think I have the lead card open here. Yeah, this one actually was when we were in Smarter Contact. So this was when Launch Control was down, and I think it was from October this past year. So this one happened pretty fast. We we got it under contract on November 6th, and we closed it. Well, we closed it last week. So I guess November, December, January, February. It took 3 months, right? December.
That's great. That's a quick one.
3 months from contract to close, and we really probably could have closed it sooner, but it did take some negotiation. I stepped in more than I normally do on this one because I saw a lot of profit potential here. A couple things happened. Um, this woman was obviously motivated. She talked to our acquisition specialist, Krisa, and Krisa asked me to look at it. And she was asking for 60,000, and we offered 25. And I just offered 25 because that's what made sense with the numbers for us. Um, and I didn't even realize that it came with two vacant lots. I was offering on a parcel with a mobile home on it, and I thought the retail was like 60. So I offered 25. Anyway, she accepted the 25 pretty quickly without any negotiation. She just accepted it. And I was like, what? Because she was started off at 60. And I was like, it's kind of like what you said earlier, Jasper, offer on everything if you can, because you never know if somebody's might just be like, yeah, I'll take 25. And also,
Yeah.
at least then they have a number in their head, even if they don't accept it now, but you're following up, at least you have a baseline number of like, it level sets the seller of like, oh, if they get
Yeah.
3 offers from wholesalers ranging from 15 to 25, then they kind of know that, oh, I'm never getting 60, right? And then if you keep
Yeah.
following up, you might be the person who gets it. But anyway, this one we got lucky. We offered 25. She said yes. We got it under contract. And then we started doing the wholesaling thing and looking for, to assign it. And we got a lot of interest. And then I was like, we need to just buy this thing. We've got cash in our account, and I don't want to, deal with what you were just talking about, like somebody trying to go around us because it's a great deal. So we
Yeah.
closed on it with the seller pretty quickly because I was getting offers in for 50 and 55 and stuff like that. And and then I realized we had, the 2 other lots. And so then we were like, well, we could get probably 50 for the lot with a mobile home and another 15 each for the other two and get around 80 for this. And so then we were marketing it separately and together in different packages and stuff. And we got this buyer who really, really wanted the mobile home and wanted that property. And then this is again where I stepped in a little bit and negotiated directly with them and offered them a package. And, so we ended up at 80K for the package, on something we spent 25K on. And then, we had some expenses with some inspections and turning on the water and the electric. And, we had a guy go out there and test the plumbing and different things. So, and we paid a real estate commission on this. An agent brought this buyer. So we paid a 3% commission on 80K, which is, 2,400. And then we probably had another 5 or 600 and maybe 7 in miscellaneous expenses. The water was a bear on this. It's Robeson County. And in Robeson County, you have to go in person with like your social security and your business certificate, or, it's just crazy. And finally, I got Ann on the phone, my girlfriend, and she's good on the phone with people. And she talked to the woman and got more information that you can send a real estate agent if they have some documents for you. And so I finally did a real estate agent blast. I blasted like 30 agents on text and said, hey, can you get the water turned on in this place for me? And I got like 3 or 4 responses. And this woman ended up going down to the water office with documents from us to get it turned on. And even then, she had to call me on the phone and we had to talk the woman through it because they're so rigid there. It was so annoying. One of the hardest aspects of closing this deal was dealing with the water department in Robeson County to get the water turned on so we could test the water. It was just crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was insane. So, and even now we're trying to turn it off because we've closed the deal and the buyer's switching, and they're like, no, you got to come down in person with your documents to turn it off. So we're hoping that the buyer just goes in and puts it in his name and that knocks us out. So we're going to just check on it next week.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I guess 3 months contract to close. That's a fast one, as we've talked about. When you just contrast that with one that took you 3 years, follow-ups, and it wasn't even the same property, but
Yeah.
paid the agent commission, which was well worth it. We did basically made 55 on a 25,000 investment, and we gave 3K of that away for an agent and some fees. It still puts us at like 52.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I guess that was it. The negotiation we pushed to get it. I was really happy to sell it as one package rather than 3 things and just get it all out the door. And yeah, that's about it. Other than it was just fun that Ann and I were driving down to the beach, to Myrtle Beach, and so we were like, oh, this town is right on the way to Myrtle Beach. Let's stop by there and see this place. So I actually stopped by and opened the lockbox and walked through and looked at the property and took some pictures and stuff. And it was fun because
Nice.
I don't really see the properties that we sell much. So
Yeah.
it was just a fun little sidebar to do that. In the beginning, I used to go to every property and walk the property and put up flags and take pictures and put up a sign and stuff like that. And I rarely do that anymore because we're all over the state now. And also, I would just say that this was a great experience from buyer and seller standpoint. The seller was really great. She was very cooperative. When we needed a key, she got us a key. Any documentation or information we asked her for, like the tag for the mobile home, this or that, she was just right on top of it and got us everything. which is always a joy, to work with a seller like that. And then the buyer was super professional. He just asked the questions he needed to ask, he negotiated pretty hard, but we got it, where we both were happy. And then when it was time for him to close, he did what he said. He wired his money in, he did final walkthrough and closed on the closing day. So it's not to be underestimated when you have buyers and sellers who are just great to work with and cooperative and helpful and do what they say they're going to do. It's, a wonderful blessing.
Definitely.
So other than that, I'll move on to KPIs. We sold one this week. It was a vacant lot. We closed one, and that's the one I mentioned. And then we got one contract, which is a little bit slow for us this week, but we got some stuff in the works. I think we'll have a bigger contract week next week. This one was a vacant lot. So we're still doing vacant land and houses both. But
nice.
Yeah, we have a few houses in the works, a couple under contract that we're working on. Actually, we're closing on a house this week. We're buying this one too for a similar reason. The ARV is probably around 100, 110. We're buying it for 25, and it needs a bunch of work, but still there's a lot of meat on the bone, and we just didn't want to mess around. We had some other wholesalers come in, and they're trying to wholesale on top of our wholesale, which our contract says you can't assign our contract. And anyway, we just decided to buy it. Same deal. Just control it, and then we can put it on the MLS if we want. Oh, that's the other thing I didn't mention about the other one. After we bought it, we did put it on the MLS to broaden, cast a wider net, and that's how we ended up meeting the real estate agent who brought the buyer. And he's also a great guy, so hopefully we can do more deals with him in that area too. Be happy to work with him again.
Yeah.
Real estate agents can muddy the waters sometimes because they don't understand wholesaling and they get scared or worried, or they work with attorneys who don't know what wholesaling is. But some real estate agents are great. Actually, this wasn't a wholesale deal, so I can't say that he really knows what it is, but he was great to work with. So, and then thanks to your referral, Jasper, I did onboard this week with Call Geeks, and we have a cold caller starting next week. So thank you for that.
Sweet.
It's exciting, a little bit scary, a little bit exciting, because I haven't done cold callers before. I've only done my own cold calling and then switched over to direct mail and SMS. So now we're actually hiring a cold caller through a service to bring us leads. So I'm excited about that because that broadens our marketing sources to 3 now: direct mail, SMS, and cold calling. And I might follow you into PPC too, and just make sure we have a broad base of marketing.
Yeah.
So that's a victory to get that done, because just a little bit of back and forth and contracts and onboarding stuff that it's still not final, but we're almost there. We got all the lists for them and everything. I also joined Deal Lab last week on your recommendation. So that's Matt Larson's mastermind.
Oh, awesome.
It's a super bargain. So if you are starting out or you're on a low budget, like $47 a month for a mastermind with tons of information, archived Zoom calls on all kinds of topics that will help you learn and grow your business, and documents like contracts and stuff. It's a really great mastermind from what I can tell in the brief exposure I've had to it. And I checked out one of the calls the other day about the Pawn Stars one. Did you watch that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Pawn Stars, the expert strategy, like making the seller their own expert and talking themselves into realizing their property is not worth as much as it is. It was
yeah.
So, and Matt Larson is really down to earth. It just presents things in a real nuts and bolts way, and he's got a ton of experience, 18 years and thousands of deals closed. So, good guy to learn from. And then our preliminary title search, our new process around that, we just decided we were going to do preliminary title searches on everything we got under contract. After we do our in-house post-contract review, we send it to a lawyer to get a preliminary title search. And it's been great because we're finding out early if there are title issues or liens or foreclosures or anything. And we're also finding out if a property is good to go, so we can market full steam ahead without worrying about later on running into stuff. So it costs $300 here and there when you get a lawyer to do something and then you can't market the property, but it's worth it with all the hassle we've had getting all the way to escrow and then finding out about these things. So that's been a victory. And then challenges, we've got some deal challenges. Jasper, you and I hardly even talk about title issues anymore because it's just an ongoing part of this business. But we've got a couple of those going, and then we had on one of our deals we had a buyer. He delayed because he's getting a construction loan and he wants to do some inspections and get a perk test and blah blah blah. And so we delayed it once with the seller, and they weren't super happy about it because it was a hassle for them to sign all the documents, and there were like 5 people have to sell, 3 sisters with 2 husbands, and I mean 5 people have to sign. So she didn't want to have to do the documents over and everything, and so we ended up, this is one we're going to buy because I don't want to extend again with the seller and then have the buyer come back to me again and say, oh, I need more time to get the survey or this or that, which he's been doing. And this is a buyer who worked with Jasper, or maybe has lowballed you, but you haven't done a deal with him. But anyway, he's a good guy, but maybe a little bit high maintenance or tricky to work with. So I have faith that he'll close eventually, and I know the lender who he's getting a construction loan with, and I talked to the lender, and so it's all good. But it's gonna end up costing us money out of our assignment fee because we're going to close instead of doing an assignment, which means we're going to pay closing costs.
Yeah.
But the good news is 24-hour closing. Harry Marsh, really helped us out with pivoting and getting everything done, and they've been great for us. We've been doing some deals with them this year so far, and at the end of last year, and they're really efficient. They've been doing great on the preliminary title searches, and their transaction coordinator, paralegal, whatever, she does a great job. They have a few of them, but they do a great job keeping things on track and being efficient. So I appreciate that.
Nice.
And then we have another one that I've been dealing with for the last 2 weeks, where the sellers changed their mind and refused to close on the closing date, which just passed on Thursday this past week. And I've been emailing back and forth with them because they won't talk to me on the phone. And now one of her most recent emails, she said she wanted to have a record of our conversation, so she wanted to email. So anyway, they're basically daring me to file a suit against them, saying, "Go ahead, do what you need to do." So we're going to file a suit on Monday for breach of contract and specific performance. And I talked to Justin Taylor, who's one of our closing attorneys that we work with, and he said, "Yeah, it looks like you guys have a good case. I'd go for it." So unfortunately, we have to do that because that one was already locked in with a buyer for like 11. No, I think this one was like 15,000 profit. So anyway, it was a good profit, so that's why we're doing it. So that's a challenge because I'd rather just close the deal, and I bent over backwards and tried to do everything I could to make these sellers happy so that we could actually close the deal. But they want to fight. They're willing to go to court, so I guess we're doing it. And I think that's about it for me for the business check-in. Yeah, that's what I got.
Nice.
Yeah. And
good shares.
So then it's time for us to wind it down. And we often end with appreciations, gratitudes, quotes that we've read or picked up on this week that struck us. So I wrote down a few things here, Jasper. And do you have anything in the way of gratitude or appreciation or quotes or anything to wrap with?
I don't have any quotes, but I could do appreciations. I've been appreciating the mastermind that you shouted out. The Deal Lab has been great for me. Just been learning stuff every week, and sometimes not necessarily learning a new thing, but just reinforcing something that I know but haven't been doing, which is sometimes more important. And so it's just been a great, like a weekly reminder. It's very similar to our call here, but it's just like keeps me on track and makes me remember things that I used to do maybe, or things that I know I should do, but I don't. And so I've been able to take action on that every week. So I appreciate him. I'm really excited that you joined too, so we can do it together.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been awesome. And then also appreciate his team because I hired a cash buyer virtual assistant from him. Not a full 2 weeks ago, but he's been working about a week and a half and already added, I think, about 130 new buyers to our list, something like that. So that's been a huge huge success for us. So I'm grateful for him. He's also a super nice guy, and he's really ready to learn and just wants to do his best and provide value for us, which is awesome. His first, I think I mentioned this, but when he first reached out to me, he was like, "I can't wait to make your life easier." And I was like, "Wow, that's a great, that's a great tagline or whatever." But it's what he's done so far, so I'm really grateful for him. And yeah, grateful for the rest of my team too. Oh, I didn't even share this victory, but basically, I'm promoting one of my people to acquisitions, and she'll be in training this month, and she'll start in March. And so it feels good to me to do that. She's super grateful, and I'm excited to see how it goes. But even just from working with me for 2 years, she shared like last year they were able to get a new house, and it was a house that they bought, and they basically moved out of like a tiny shack into like a decent home. And now she sent me just maybe last week or the week before, she sent me pictures, but they're building their own house now,
Wow.
and she was just like so happy and just sharing with me, and so that was an inspiration for me too,
Where is
and
she being
appreciation.
promoted from? What was she doing before acquisitions?
So this is Warnie from my team. She started as a cash buyer VA. She did that for I don't know 5 or 6 months. Then I promoted her to a follow up specialist, pretty much out of necessity. At that point, I needed someone ASAP to help with all the follow ups. So she jumped into that role, without question. She was willing to do it, and she's been crushing that for about a year now. And now she's going into acquisitions pretty soon. So I'm excited about that.
That's great.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it for me.
Great. That's good stuff. Thanks for sharing. I just wanted to make another note. You reminded me of another story from my team. Um, so, and for people who are listening and wondering about the Matt Larson mastermind, it's not, you can probably Google him and find it, but I think it's realestatematt.com is where you'd go to. And then that would where you'd find Deal Lab from there. He's got a bunch of other programs and resources, but I think if you just go to realestatemat.com, you can even go /Deal Lab probably, and you'll end up there if you want to check it out. And I think there's very little risk. I think you could cancel if you didn't like it, but $47 a month, for a guy who's worked with Tony Robbins and taught him how to do residential investing, real estate investing, and also, a lot of people have testimonials on there saying they're spending 1,500, 2,000 a month on masterminds that didn't deliver as much value as this $50 a month mastermind. So
Yeah,
anyway, we're giving him a big shout out, but he deserves it. He's bringing tons of value. So I'll jump in.
definitely. Yeah, I hope you like it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, nothing. I said I hope you like it.
Yeah. Um, so as far as the stuff I wrote down, so you reminded me of a story from my team. So we've got a guy who's our newest team member. He's been with us, I think, since June or July is when he started, and then there's a period before you get closing bonuses on our team, and then he's been getting a few, and then not last week, but the week before, we closed two deals, so he got two closing bonuses in 1 week. It was his first time getting two in 1 week. And so he shared with the team on Slack. We have a Slack thread and we have a general thread when we just share anything from our lives or different stuff that's not necessarily business related. And he said, "Hey, team, since it was my first week with two bonuses, my wife and I went to the store and we bought like a huge, I think it was like a 50-pound bag of rice and a bunch of vegetables and stuff. And they distributed them to the less fortunate people in their community. So they like bagged up all the rice into smaller bags and then had all the vegetables, and they just made little care packages and passed them out all around their community. And it was just so inspiring to me. It just made me, tear up a little bit, the kind of person he is, and that when he got extra money, that's the first thing he did is thought of other people. And so
Yeah.
I feel really, really blessed by that. Shout out Lucky. And yeah, I'm almost crying just thinking about it. It's funny,
Yeah.
but just a good heart. So I'm grateful, it was great to be in Puerto Rico. I'm grateful to be back here because I missed my pickleball crew. So I'm ready to play some high level pickleball now that I'm back. And
Yeah.
I'm grateful for Spotify books on audio. It's something that I recently discovered or is fairly new to Spotify, but they have a lot of audio books on Spotify, and that's where I've been listening to Naval's book. But they have a really great selection, and so that's been exciting. That I have the premium membership with no ads and stuff, and so I've got all these audiobooks now that I've just bookmarked or saved to my account, and I'm excited to dive into them.
That's cool.
Naval's is one of them, so it's been great. Uh, as always, Jasper, I appreciate you for doing this with me. I get a ton of value from us, going back and forth, and I learned so much from you and your journey and your growth in this business. So appreciate that, and yeah, I appreciate your story about your friends coming out and you working with them on real estate and on wholesaling and teaching them too, and how it felt fulfilling for you. Because I think that's a key for you. That you like to teach, and you were very generous with basketball too, with your friends who wanted to learn. And you've always been generous with this, so I think there's something in there for you. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
And then I got a couple of quotes that I wrote down from the book I was reading while I was buzzing on my espresso at 3 a.m. or whatever. Uh, so these are quotes from Dan Sullivan and from this book, Laws of Lifetime Growth. All growth lies in the territory of the unknown. And that comes from make your questions bigger than your answers. And that concept is kind of like, if you think you have all the answers, then you're not growing, right? And so your questions are more important. It's better to continue to ask questions, and the quality of your questions determines the quality of your life. So then this other one, I'll close on this one. This is just a longer quote from the same chapter. Always make your questions bigger than your answers, and you'll be drawing yourself into a bigger future with new possibilities. I like that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And that's what I got. Got any parting words before we sign off?
Awesome. No, I don't think so. I hope everyone has a great week. If you have any comments or anything, feel free to leave them below. And thanks for listening or watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Yeah. Let us know if we can help. Just message on YouTube, or yeah, I guess that's the best place for now. Leave something in the comments and we'll get back to you. And we're happy to help or add content that could be helpful. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Sayonara.